At 36,000 feet, there is one thing pilots never want to hear. Cabin crew to cockpit, we have smoke. Not a warning light. Not turbulence. Not an engine alert. Smoke. Because at cruise altitude, smoke is not just a smell. It's a countdown. Flight 882 was halfway through a routine night crossing. Smooth air, stable cruise, autopilot engaged, passengers asleep. And then it started. A faint odor in the rear galley. Burning plastic. At first, the cabin crew thought it was overheated catering equipment. But within seconds, the smell thickened. And then they saw it. A thin gray haze drifting along the ceiling. Up front, the cockpit was calm. Until the call came through. Captain, we have visible smoke. There were no warnings on the flight deck. No fire indications. No system failures. Nothing. And that's what made it worse. Because unidentified smoke at altitude is one of the most dangerous situations in aviation. You don't know the source. You don't know how fast it's spreading. And you don't know how much time you have. The captain put on his oxygen mask immediately. The first officer did the same. Checklist. Smoke, fire, or fumes. Step 1, oxygen masks ON. Step 2, establish crew communications. Step 3, identify source. But there was a problem. There was no clear source. Passengers were now coughing. Cabin visibility was decreasing. And the smoke wasn't staying in the rear anymore. It was moving forward. At 36,000 feet, the aircraft is in thin air. If there is a hidden fire inside the walls or cargo hold, it can burn undetected until it's too late. History has shown that smoke events can turn catastrophic in minutes. The captain requested an immediate descent. Air traffic control cleared Flight 882 down to 10,000 feet. But descending from cruise altitude isn't instant. It takes time. And time is the one thing smoke does not allow. The first officer suggested declaring a full emergency. The captain hesitated. Was it electrical? Was it an air conditioning pack? Was it a false alarm? Declaring emergency would mean priority handling, diversions, investigations, paperwork. But waiting could mean something far worse. In the cabin, the haze was now thick enough to trigger passenger panic. A child began crying. Flight attendants moved quickly, shouting commands through portable oxygen masks. Stay seated, heads down. Back in the cockpit, a master caution finally illuminated. But it wasn't a fire warning. It was a recirculation fan fault. Was that the cause? Or just a symptom? The crew shut down the affected system. For a moment, the smoke seemed to slow. And then it surged again. That's when the captain made the call. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Flight 882 declaring emergency. Smoke in the cabin. Immediate descent required. Air traffic control cleared them direct to the nearest airport. The aircraft pitched down sharply. Speed increased. The cabin crew braced passengers. Descending rapidly in a pressurized aircraft can cause its own dangers. Structural stress, ear injuries, panic. But staying high was not an option. The cockpit began isolating electrical buses one by one. If the source was electrical, cutting power might stop it. Screens flickered. Cabin lights dimmed. The aircraft was now partially on emergency power. And still no visible flames. Just smoke. Thick, persistent, spreading. At 18,000 feet, visibility in the rear cabin dropped dramatically. Passengers were now using supplemental oxygen. Some began recording on their phones. The crew had minutes to solve a problem they couldn't see. The first officer noticed something subtle. The smoke density changed when the galley power was cycled. A clue. The captain ordered a complete galley electrical shutdown. This time, the smoke began to thin. Slowly, almost imperceptibly. At 12,000 feet, the cabin air finally began clearing. But no one relaxed, because hidden fires can reignite. The aircraft leveled briefly before continuing down to landing. Emergency vehicles lined the runway. The landing was firm. No celebration, no applause. Just tension. The aircraft stopped. Engines shut down. Evacuation slides armed but not deployed. Fire crews entered the aircraft. And what they found was both simple and terrifying. A wiring bundle behind the rear galley panel had chafed against a metal support bracket. Over time, vibration wore through insulation. Arcing began. Plastic insulation smoldered. It hadn't become an open flame. Yet, investigators later concluded that if the crew had delayed descent by even 10 more minutes, the fire could have breached surrounding insulation material. And at 36,000 feet, an in-flight fire can overwhelm an aircraft faster than most people realize. Flight 882 was not remembered for tragedy. It was remembered for timing, for decisive action under uncertainty, for choosing emergency over hesitation. Because at altitude, smoke is never just smoke. It is a question. How much time do you have left? On that night, the answer was just enough. But only because the crew treated a faint haze like a fatal threat. And in aviation, that mindset is often the difference between routine landing and disaster.